You stand there, thinking you've got yourself figured out, thinking you've done the work. That because you've survived the past, you understand it. But deep down, you feel it, don't you? That pull, that quiet unease that hums beneath every achievement, every smile, every moment of calm. It's not anxiety. It's not fear. It's truth, trying to reach you from the depths you've ignored. Carl Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. He was right, because facing yourself isn't enlightenment. It's exposure. You've built your life around what the world will accept. You wear masks so perfectly, even you believe them now. But beneath that performance, there's a storm. A collection of everything you've denied, the rage you suppress, the shame you hide, the desires you label wrong, the potential you abandoned because it scared you. That storm has a name. Jung called it the shadow. And no, it isn't evil. It's honest. It's the part of you that remembers every truth you tried to bury. Every moment you chose silence over authenticity, every version of yourself you disowned to stay safe, liked, acceptable. But the shadow doesn't forget. It waits. It watches. It grows stronger in the silence you create. And one day, it knocks, sometimes softly. Through a restless mind, an ache you can't name. Sometimes violently, through loss, collapse, or the sudden realization that you don't know who you are anymore. That's not life punishing you. That's life confronting you with what you've become by refusing to see what you are. The descent begins the moment you stop running, the moment you look in the mirror and realize the enemy was never out there. It's the part of you you've refused to meet. Shadow work isn't a trend. It's not self-care. It's not a guided meditation that makes you feel better for a week. It's descent, raw, unfiltered, and merciless. It's walking into the dark corners of your psyche and asking, what have I abandoned here? And when you ask that question, the silence answers. At first, it's terrifying, because you realize how much of your life has been lived in half-truths, how much of your personality is protection, not authenticity. You begin to see how your kindness can hide resentment, how your confidence masks insecurity, how your strength is often just fear wearing armor. It's not weakness to see that. It's the beginning of consciousness. Jung believed that no light exists without darkness, and that the self is born only when the two meet. That's what descent is. Not punishment, not despair, but the invitation to wholeness. So when you feel yourself slipping, when life starts to strip away the roles, the noise, the false calm, don't fight it. You're not breaking down. You're being called down. Into yourself. Into the fire where the masks melt, and the truth you've avoided stands waiting to be named. This is where it begins. The descent, the confrontation, the return to what's real. Because before you can rise, you have to face what's buried. And the descent? That's just the beginning of your becoming. You've been told your whole life to stay positive, to look on the bright side, to forgive, forget, move on. But you can't move on from what you refuse to understand. You can't rise above what you're still buried under. This world worships comfort. It teaches you to chase happiness like it's oxygen, but happiness built on denial is just another prison. You smile when you want to scream. You say, "I'm fine," when you're breaking. You swallow your anger because you've been told it's ugly. You silence your sadness because it makes others uncomfortable. But here's the truth, the one nobody wants to say out loud. You don't grow by pretending you're okay. You grow when you admit you're not. Carl Jung warned that what you resist not only persists, it grows in power. Every feeling you push away doesn't disappear. It mutates. It hides in your habits, your thoughts, your choices. It becomes the quiet voice that whispers, "You're not enough." It becomes the invisible hand steering your life from the shadows. You think you're in control, but you're not. Not until you turn and face what's been controlling you all along. You see, repression doesn't make you stronger. It makes you smaller. Every time you reject your pain, you reject a piece of yourself. Every time you choose peace over truth, you lose another layer of who you really are. You've mistaken numbness for healing, distraction for recovery, denial for strength. But you can't trick your shadow. It knows every lie you tell yourself. It sees the envy behind your humility, the fear behind your ambition, the loneliness behind your independence. And the more you deny it, the louder it becomes, until the truth erupts, through burnout, through breakdowns, through the quiet question that creeps in when the world finally goes silent. Is this really me? That's the moment the mask starts to crack. When you realize the you've built is mostly made of other people's expectations. The person who followed the rules, pleased the crowd, played it safe, and still ended up feeling hollow. The lie isn't that you've failed. The lie is that you've ever been yourself, because the self you show the world is a carefully edited version, filtered, rehearsed, and safe. The self you hide carries everything real, your power, your rage, your hunger for meaning. Jung said the shadow contains not only the worst parts of us, but also the best, the gold buried beneath the darkness. But to reach it, you must walk through the fire of truth. So stop pretending. Stop curating your pain into something beautiful and digestible. Let it be raw. Let it be real. Because until you can sit with your darkness without flinching, you'll never truly see your own light. You've spent years building a life that looks complete, but deep down, you know something's missing. That missing piece isn't out there. It's in the parts of you you've disowned. You think you're afraid of the dark, but what you're really afraid of is the power that lives inside it. Pain doesn't lie. It's the most honest thing you'll ever feel. It doesn't care about your image, your goals, your philosophy of life. It doesn't care how healed you think you are. Pain cuts through all of it, straight to the truth. You can hide from everyone else, but not from what hurts. Because pain is the body's rebellion against deception. It's your inner self screaming, "Look at me." You've spent years avoiding that scream. You distract yourself with work, with noise, with endless motion. Anything to not sit still long enough to feel what's real. But no matter how far you run, pain follows. Because pain isn't chasing you. It's part of you. Carl Jung believed that what we call suffering is often the soul's attempt to correct the imbalance within the psyche. When something inside you has been denied too long, it rises, not to destroy you, but to force you to remember who you are. Every ache carries a message. Every breakdown is a doorway. Every dark night of the mind is an invitation. But we don't listen. We label it weakness. We drown it out with positivity, discipline, or denial. We call it depression, burnout, failure, anything but truth. Yet beneath every form of pain lies one silent fact. You've been living out of alignment with yourself. Look closer. Behind every moment of exhaustion is a yes you never meant to give. Behind every wave of anxiety is a truth you refuse to speak. Behind every resentment is a version of you that feels unseen. You think pain is the problem, but pain is the mirror. It shows you what's been lost, what's been buried, what's been ignored. It forces you to face the fracture. And that fracture, that split between who you are and who you pretend to be, is where the shadow lives. When you deny your anger, it doesn't vanish. It hides and corrodes you from within. When you suppress your envy, your sadness, your need for control, they don't disappear. They wait, and they speak through self-sabotage, through emptiness, through the patterns you can't seem to break. Pain isn't there to punish you. It's there to wake you up, to make you feel what you've been numbing for years, to remind you that you can't outthink the truth. Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That's what pain does. It makes the darkness conscious. And when you finally stop resisting it, when you stop labeling it as failure, you start to see what's really inside it. The map back to yourself. Pain is the mirror. And in that reflection, you'll see everything you've been running from, and everything you need to become. So don't turn away this time. Look, really look, because what's staring back at you isn't weakness, it's your strength, hidden beneath everything you've been afraid to feel. And if you can bear to see it, you're already changing. This is where most people turn back, because this is where the real work begins, where the light of awareness burns through the skin of who you thought you were. Shadow work sounds noble until it starts tearing you apart, until the truths you uncover are too heavy to carry, too ugly to justify, too real to escape. You thought you wanted healing, but healing is not peace. It's demolition. It's the collapse of every lie that kept you safe. It's the shattering of the identity you built to survive. And it hurts. Not because something's wrong, but because something false is dying. Carl Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And he meant it, because consciousness costs you everything that isn't real. You'll try to hold on to the old patterns, the old stories, the familiar suffering that once gave you control. You'll cling to the illusion that if you just think positive, if you just stay busy, you can climb out untouched. But you can't. Because this isn't ascent, it's descent into the fire that burns away the mask. You will feel lost, unanchored, disoriented. You'll start to question everything. Who am I without this pain? Who am I without the image I protect? What if there's nothing left underneath? And in that moment, the mind screams for escape, because it's easier to live numb than to live naked in front of truth. But listen closely. That breakdown you fear is not the end. It's the turning. It's the moment the false self collapses so the real one can breathe. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation. The process of becoming who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. It's not pretty. It's not poetic. It's violent. It's raw. It's rebirth through confrontation. You will meet every emotion you buried, the rage you feared would destroy you, the grief you thought you'd outgrown, the shame that taught you to shrink. And for a while it feels endless. You think, I can't do this. You think I'm breaking. But you're not breaking. You're breaking open. The pain you feel isn't punishment. It's purification. It's stripping you back to what's essential, to the unedited self beneath the noise, because the person you've been can't walk where you're going. They were never meant to. Jung said that the shadow is not evil. It's just the part of you refuse to see. When you finally stop fighting it, when you let it speak, You begin to understand that darkness isn't the opposite of light. It's the soil from which light is born. So yes, this part will break you. It's supposed to. You can't build truth on top of illusion. You have to let it burn. And when everything familiar turns to ash, when there's nothing left to hold on to but awareness itself, that's when you begin to see clearly. That's when you begin to live honestly. This is the breaking point, the collapse, the confrontation, the moment your old life ends and your real one begins. At first, the silence feels strange. You've spent so long fighting, collapsing, becoming. That peace feels like a foreign language. You start to realize something. You didn't lose yourself in the fire. You burned away everything that wasn't you. The pain didn't destroy you. It refined you. It peeled away the illusions you mistook for identity. And what's left now is real. You've seen what's underneath the masks, the noise, the false light. You've seen the shadow. And now, it's no longer your enemy. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's what you've done. You've made the darkness conscious. You've faced the parts of you that terrified you, and you've discovered that they were never trying to destroy you. They were trying to free you. The rage you buried, it was your boundary. The grief you ignored, it was your heart demanding honesty. The fear you ran from, it was your instinct calling you home. Every emotion you once despised has become a compass. Every fracture, a doorway. Every scar, a signature of survival. You are not healed. You are whole. And wholeness isn't purity. It's integration. It's the moment you stop dividing yourself into good and bad, light and dark, worthy and unworthy, and realize that every part of you belongs. This is the quiet power Jung spoke of, when the unconscious becomes an ally, when what once controlled you becomes a source of strength. You no longer fear your own reflection. You no longer run from silence. You no longer beg the world to tell you who you are, because you know, you feel it, in your bones, in your breath, in your stillness. You've walked through the fire and met the one person you've always avoided, yourself. Now you understand, the darkness was never trying to consume you, it was trying to complete you. The shadow didn't want to break you, it wanted to make you honest. And honesty, real honesty, is liberation. You start to see that every fall was a call to rise deeper, not higher. Every moment of despair was a mirror saying, "This is what you need to integrate, not escape." And now you stand, not as a perfect being, but as a whole one. You've outgrown the need to hide. You've stopped apologizing for your depth. You've stopped mistaking peace for numbness and truth for pain. You are no longer divided. You are no longer lost. You are no longer afraid of the dark, because you've become the light that sees through it. This is not rebirth as fantasy. This is not rebirth as fantasy. It's rebirth as fact. You didn't ascend. You descended and emerged grounded, fierce, awake. You finally understand what Jung meant when he said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." That order is you. You've come this far. You've walked through the wreckage. You've met the parts of yourself you once swore you'd never face. And now you stand here, stripped, scarred, awake. You know too much to ever go back. Back to pretending. Back to playing small. Back to calling comfort peace. You've seen what lives behind the mask, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So the question now is simple, but it will define the rest of your life. What will you do with the truth? Because awareness without action becomes another form of avoidance. You can understand yourself completely and still live a lie. You can read every book, quote every thinker, analyze every wound, and still never change. Jung didn't study the psyche to make people comfortable. He studied it to make people conscious, to make them take responsibility for the darkness they carry so they could use it as power, not poison. That's your task now. Not to destroy the shadow, not to glorify it, but to own it, to integrate it so deeply that it becomes part of your strength. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your honesty. It needs people who have walked through their own fire and still have the courage to stand in the light without flinching. You've felt what it's like to burn. You've felt what it's like to lose yourself in the chaos. But look at you now. You're still here. And that means the fire didn't kill you. It forged you. You are not fragile anymore. You are not chasing wholeness. You are living it. You've made peace with the parts of you that once terrified you, and that peace is not calm. It's power. So stop waiting for permission to rise. Stop asking the world to validate what you already know inside. Stop holding back your voice to protect a version of you that no longer exists. Everything that was meant to break you has already taught you. Everything that tried to silence you has shaped the voice you're about to use. This is your fire now. The same flame that burned your illusions is the one that will light your path forward. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that's what this is about. Not healing for comfort, not growth for approval, but becoming, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. So when the darkness calls again, and it will, don't run. Walk in with open eyes and a steady heart, because you've been there before, and you know what waits on the other side. The real you, the one the world can't define, the one the shadow could never destroy, the one who is no longer afraid to burn for the truth. So rise, walk through the ashes, carry your scars like armor. You've met the dark side of you, and it didn't consume you, it completed you. This is your fire, your power, your becoming. Now go and live it. After the fire, there is quiet, not the quiet of emptiness, the quiet of understanding. You look around, and everything feels different, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You no longer see through the eyes of fear, you see through the eyes of truth. The same world that once confined you now feels wider, deeper, sharper. You see the masks others wear, not with judgment, but with compassion. Because you know what it costs to take them off. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to chase meaning. You've stopped searching for light outside yourself, because you've found it in the one place you never looked, the center of your own darkness. Carl Jung believed that integration is not about becoming perfect, but about becoming complete. That the human being is not born finished, but forged through conflict, contradiction, and choice. And now you understand that. You understand that every fall was necessary, that every collapse carved depth into you, that your chaos was not failure, it was foundation. You see, awakening isn't an escape from suffering. It's learning how to suffer consciously. It's no longer drowning in your pain, but standing in it with your eyes open and saying, This too is me. You are not pure light. You are not pure darkness. You are the space that holds both, the bridge between shadow and awareness. That is the power of the human mind, the beauty of the human condition, to contain opposites without being torn apart by them. You've returned to the surface, but you're not the same person who descended. You carry depth now, you carry stillness, you carry gravity, and when life tests you again, as it will, you won't collapse, because you've already been to the edge, you've already faced yourself, and survived.